Hey guys, and welcome to my studio. It's still under construction, still a little messy. You can still see all of the cables. Table isn't covered, isn't painted, ceiling isn't treated, the front wall isn't done yet, but the rest is already there. All of the side walls acoustically treated, 40 centimeters. It sounds brilliant. I'm extremely happy. The floor is floating, room within a room. It just works. And since a lot of people have been asking me about how I connect everything, how the entire studio is wired, how I'm doing all of this without a patch bay, and since the cables are still visible, because they will be gone entirely, I thought why not make that video and show you how everything is connected, how you can set up your studio, maybe get some ideas how I'm doing it, or maybe learn what you shouldn't do. All of this coming up today.
Can't help but take it farther. I'm breathing underwater.
I know all of this looks very messy, but actually a lot of thoughts went into how to connect everything, how to make it work in a modern approach. Because this right here is a studio just for me, for making my music and sometimes mixing and mastering for other people, but 90% just me making music in here. Electronic music that is pop influenced, could be played on the radio, on Spotify, sometimes also more club oriented stuff. So I wanted to implement analog gear, but in a way where it doesn't hurt me at all, because there are some advantages, disadvantages, and I wanted analog gear with all of the advantages and no disadvantages, because I'm used to working in the box, I'm used to having total recall, I'm used to switching from one song to another, so I wanted to have all of that in the setup. And like the way I did everything, it actually works. I can switch between projects. I don't have to recall anything. Everything just works. So I got both the advantages from working in the box and using the analog gear actually to pass the sounds through. And I also built the table in a way where all of the cables are facing downwards, so I can just lay on the floor, look up, and like reconnect and wire everything the way it's supposed to. We got right here the interface, the AD, or actually not the interface, this is the ADDA converter. Let me actually show you from the top. So let's maybe start with the most important, the connection right here. This right here is a MADI called Medican by SPL. That's actually an interface, and just an interface. It only connects via USB to the computer, MacBook right here. I just got one of these cooling pads to make sure it stays silent. And that little box right there is only there for converting the analog signal to digital for the computer and back. That's all what it does. Like usually all audio interfaces have that combined in one unit. Here I have it separate. So whenever I need a new connection to the computer, I just exchange this box instead of also the ADDA converters. Speaking of them, they're hidden a little. Right here we got two medicines. Those are 16 ins, 16 outs each. And everything you see here goes through these two. And then to the box, to the computer, and also the same way back. I then have, for example, in Logic, you can see on the side, I have groups. I have, for example, a vocal group that I can open and close. I have a top bass group that I can open and close. Same for all of the drum elements, the main synthesizers, and so on and so on. These groups are going through the second medicine, the outputs right here. Let me maybe play something. So you can see all of them activated, or almost all of them. These 8 stereo, 16 mono, they go to the Mixstream XP. This right here is a summing device. A very simple one, doesn't have anything. I mean, you can control the output, but if you hit this one right here or deactivate it, it doesn't do anything. So it's a fixed output. And channel 1 and 2 is set to mono. This basically kind of gives me another channel. I route to 1 in electronic music, very important, the kick. So it always has its separate channel to be summed. And onto the sub bass, the low part, the mono part. So those two are separated, and mono gives me even better summing. 3 and 4 is then usually the drums, or the top bass, 5 and 6 the vocals, 7 and 8, and so forth. So it's split always in 8 groups, which kind of forces me to use groups, which I like. I was lazy in the past to do so, and this way I can also apply effects to the entire group. It's very handy. If you want to filter all of the drums, you just put a filter on the group and it's already ready to go. You want to lower all of the vocals, you just lower all of the vocals that are already in a group. I really love that workflow. Well, let's actually check that out on the back, because I tried to make it in the most efficient way possible. So those are the AD converters, and you see the second unit, those are the outs, the first 8, the second 8, and they're connected with just one cable right here to the summing. Those cables are 25D sub cables. They are basically 8 XLRs and one cable. There is no cable in between, it's just that single cable, good quality. I kept that as short as possible so that we don't have any loss in quality. And then the first converter has the line outs and the line ins. The ins are for microphones or compressors, EQs, to just go in again into the AD-DA converter and into the computer. And the outs are for other stuff that I connect. For example, if we follow the red ones, we get right here to this unit right here, 2 red ones in there. So I can transfer the computer sound in here and out again. But let's maybe first follow the signal flow, because we go from the AD converter with 16 channels to the summing device, and from there to go out right here into this unit. Let me show it to you from the front. So again, AD converter, summing. From the summing, just 2 left and right, go right here into the Better Maker mastering compressor. I love that thing. I actually love all 3 of them. And that's like what I was talking about, like modern stuff. If you don't know the Better Maker stuff, it's 100% recallable. You have a plugin in your computer that doesn't do anything to the sound, it just controls the unit. So let's say I mix a song and I have the compressor set to a ratio of, I don't know, 1.5 to 1 or 4 to 1. And I switch to another song where it's different. It switches like with the songs. It gets a signal from the computer with all of the settings. I can A and B compare settings with like an analog unit. It's fully analog. The sound is fully created in here or changed in here, but the controls are digital. So for example, here in Logic on my master, I got here the plugin version. Again, this just controls and saves the settings. Sound is made in here. And you can of course also use the unit right here. It's like fully touch screen, and whatever you do here gets transferred to here and the other way around. I mean, honestly, that's the way analog gear should be like. Everything should be like that, and all of the stuff that I have here in the studio does these things, and it's just brilliant. Because sometimes you have analog gear and you're too lazy because you have to route it there, and the second you start using outboard gear, you know we have to make pictures and recall, and it sounds always a little different because you never get it really right. With these units, no problem anymore. But anyways, then from the compressor, again, this is like the master signal, the summed signal, through the compressor to the mastering equalizer, same thing, and then to the mastering limiter, which is by far my favorite unit. And then all of that goes out on the back of the mastering limiter, back into the AD-DA converter, back into the computer. I've set up an I/O plugin. That's Logic's way to route things. So as you can see, there is no output, but an input of channel 1 and 2. Channel 1 and 2 is all of the signals that go through the AD converter to the summing through these 3 and back into the computer. And here in the computer, I just have metering plugins on top of the master chain to just like see the loudness, see the frequencies and all that kind of stuff. And then another unit I love, absolutely love, because it's crazy. Let me just play you one clip and you'll know what it does. It's magic. Isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? It's a German company, Tegeler Audio. They just introduced the Cream RC. RC stands for remote control. It has motorized potties built right in there. Same here. You can turn it on the unit. It syncs to the plugin. You can turn it on the plugin. It syncs to it. In the plugin, you can do A and B comparisons. You can save presets. That's just amazing. I love that stuff. So whenever I now open up a project, the Bettermaker stuff, the Tegeler stuff, it just sets itself to the last settings. I don't have to pick any recall sheets, and I can still use the advantages of analog gear. Yes, it's debatable. Some say there isn't any difference anymore. It's just a slight. But if you can have that slight improvement without all of the downsides of it, why not go for it? So this is like, for me, a modern approach to set up a studio in a way where you can just work fast, make modern music, and still get like the good stuff of analog gear. Just absolutely love it. It just works. And then the rest of the stuff I've here built into the table isn't connected right now, but all of the other stuff is like classic old analog stuff that doesn't have the recall. So I will only use them when recording. So everything that comes into the computer also, of course, goes through the AD converters into the computer. But let's say I'm recording a guitar, I'm recording a singer. I will use, for example, the preamps. I got here the Tone Beast by Warm Audio, brilliant for guitars. I just love that unit. So whenever I record, I don't need the recall really, because you record already and the file, it's already fixed with the preamp. That's totally fine. You usually don't mess it up and have to change it later on. And you can here change between vintage, clean, you got nickel, steel, and of course gain, saturation, and the output volume. The rest is more preamps, EQs, compressors. Over here we got the Elysia stuff, really good. This is an impulse shaper, an enveloper, a filter, and compressor. And then there's like more stuff that I honestly don't actually use that much because I can't recall it. It's a little annoying, and that little annoyance usually makes me not use it. So I will slowly, steady switch to all recallable units. And yeah, I have my eyes on some gear. It's a little expensive. I need to save up a little more, but I'll get it eventually. I got here a Thunderbolt dock to connect all of the USB stuff, connect the monitor, and also just use one cable. This one cable connects everything you see here. All of the recallable stuff, because this needs Ethernet. Those three need USB. It's all going through the dock to the computer, just one single cable. Also the hard drive is connected, this USB hub, charging, also the key charger for the phone, everything through this thing. And then the monitor standard, we got mini display port and HDMI, just in case someone else wants to connect their computer and they don't have the mini display port. And yeah, I mean this one right here is for the lights. That's maybe not that interesting, or maybe it is, because it controls the LEDs, all colors. But yeah, I think that's already it from how I connect everything here in the studio. I tried to make it with the shortest cable, the least connections going through everything. And if you're interested to see how I built the entire studio, I DIY built everything. First link in the description is like a link where you can watch like a playlist with all of the videos. The ceiling, these LEDs, they will not stay as they are right there. The entire ceiling will be LEDs, like the entire ceiling. And that's coming up in a couple of days. I still need to drill holes into the concrete ceiling, which is not as easy as I thought. Also, please don't forget, there is a new sample pack out with all of the samples that I actually use in my songs to make my music. If you're interested, it's also linked down below in the description. And we'll see us tomorrow back again here in the studio, making more music or more constructing. We'll see.
Feel like we could fly tonight.